September 4th, 1939. Bletchley Park, Buckinghamshire, England. Morning mist clung to the lawns of a quiet Victorian estate as bicycles crunched over gravel paths. Only one day had passed since Britain declared war on Nazi Germany. Yet here, far from the roar of bombers and marching armies, another battlefield was opening, silent, invisible, and desperately urgent. Men and women arrived carrying suitcases instead of rifles. School teachers, linguists, chess champions, crossword puzzle winners, and among them walked a thin, awkward mathematician from Cambridge, Alan Turing. He avoided conversation, coat pockets stuffed with papers filled with strange symbols and probability equations. To outsiders, he looked like an absent-minded academic. To Britain's intelligence chiefs, he represented something far more valuable, a mind capable of fighting a war using pure mathematics. Inside the mansion, typewriters rattled as intelligence officers unpacked intercepted German radio messages. Sheets of paper spilled across long wooden tables, columns of meaningless letters. No spaces, no punctuation, no mercy. Every German U-boat commander, Luftwaffe pilot, and Panzer division relied on one device to communicate securely, the infamous Enigma machine. Some believed Enigma was unbreakable. German engineers had designed it so that its electrical rotors rearranged letters into billions of possible combinations, changing settings every single midnight. Even if Britain cracked the code today, tomorrow it would become an entirely new cipher. Naval convoys were already burning in the Atlantic. Merchant ships vanished without warning. And somewhere beneath the waves, German submarines coordinated attacks with perfect precision, guided by messages the Allies could hear but could not understand. Bletchley Park's mission was simple to describe and nearly impossible to achieve. Break Enigma faster than Germany could change it. Turing studied the intercepted signals silently. He didn't see letters. He saw patterns, probability, human mistakes hidden inside machines. Around him stood civilians recruited from universities, libraries, and ordinary professions. None wore uniforms, yet each had been sworn to secrecy under threat of imprisonment. They were about to become soldiers in a mathematical war, because the future of Britain would not be decided only by guns or bombs, but by whether impossible mathematics could outrun German engineering. Autumn, 1939. Inside Hut 8 at Bletchley Park, the air smelled of damp paper, cigarette smoke, and exhaustion. Messages arrived faster than the small civilian team could process them. Thousands of encrypted German transmissions intercepted daily by listening stations across Britain. Each began the same way. 5-letter groups. Endless strings of chaos. The Enigma machine itself looked deceptively simple, a portable typewriter housed in polished wood. But beneath its keys rotated a series of electrical rotors that scrambled letters through constantly shifting pathways. Press A, and a lamp might light Q. Press A again seconds later, and it could become L. With every keystroke, the machine rewired itself. German operators believed this made Enigma mathematically invincible. The number of possible settings exceeded 150 quintillion combinations, far beyond what any human could test manually. But Turing noticed something the Germans trusted too much. Human routine. Weather reports sent every morning. Naval status updates repeated with familiar phrasing. Operators choosing predictable message keys. Even perfect machines relied on imperfect people. Working alongside Turing were civilians whose background seemed almost absurd for wartime intelligence. Classicists, linguists, statisticians, and puzzle champions recruited through a newspaper crossword competition organized by Government Code and Cipher School. One civilian mathematician, Gordon Welshman, began transforming Turing's theoretical ideas into operational strategy. Instead of attacking Enigma directly, Welshman proposed exploiting logical contradictions, eliminating impossible settings rather than guessing correct ones. It was a revolutionary shift. Don't solve the puzzle. Force the puzzle to solve itself. Turing sketched diagrams covering entire walls, networks of letters linked by logical chains he called menus. These diagrams revealed relationships hidden within encrypted messages. If one assumption proved false, thousands of rotor combinations could be discarded instantly. The challenge was no longer intelligence. It was speed. Because every midnight, German operators changed Enigma settings across the entire military. If Bletchley Park failed to break the code before dawn, all progress vanished. The civilians realized they needed something unprecedented. A machine capable of thinking through mathematics faster than any human alive. And so, in secrecy deeper than the Manhattan Project itself, they began designing a device that had never existed before. A machine built not to fire bullets, but to wage war with logic. March 1940. Bletchley Park's workshops echoed with the sound of drilling metal and spinning motors, an unusual soundtrack for a country house once known for garden parties and afternoon tea. The mathematicians had reached a brutal conclusion. Human brains alone could never defeat Enigma. Even with Turing's logical deductions, testing thousands of rotor combinations by hand would take weeks. The German Navy changed its cipher daily. Time itself had become the enemy. So the civilians decided to build a machine that could perform reasoning automatically. Turing's concept drew inspiration from earlier Polish cryptanalytic work, but what he envisioned was vastly more powerful. An electromechanical device capable of racing through Enigma possibilities at unimaginable speed. They called it the Bombe. Engineers from the British tabulating machine company arrived to turn theory into hardware. Panels of rotating drums, each simulating Enigma rotors, were wired together in towering cabinets nearly 2 meters tall. Rows of spinning cylinders clicked relentlessly. Lights flashed. Relays snapped like machine gun fire. The bomb didn't decode messages directly. Instead, it hunted contradictions. Using Turing and Welchman's statistical menus, the machine eliminated impossible configurations automatically. Thousands of settings vanished in minutes. When the machine stopped, operators rushed forward. A surviving configuration meant one thing: a possible daily Enigma key. Many of the operators were young civilian women from the Women's Royal Naval Service, known as WNS or RENS. They worked rotating shifts around the clock, feeding punch sheets into machines whose true purpose they were forbidden to know. Failure meant silence at sea. Success meant lives saved. The first operational bomb roared to life in March 1940. Within hours, it produced results faster than German intelligence believed possible. For the first time, Enigma was no longer untouchable. But victory remained fragile. Because the German Navy soon introduced new procedures, stricter discipline, and more complex rotor systems designed specifically to defeat Allied codebreakers. At Bletchley Park, celebration lasted only minutes. The war between mathematicians and machines had entered a new phase, and the Germans were about to make Enigma even deadlier. Winter, 1941. North Atlantic Ocean. Black waves slammed against Allied convoy ships struggling through freezing darkness. Ice formed along railings as merchant sailors scanned the horizon, knowing danger could strike without warning. Below the surface, German U-boats hunted in coordinated packs. The strategy was called Rudel tactic, the wolf pack. Once a submarine spotted a convoy, it radioed headquarters. Encrypted Enigma messages directed dozens of submarines into perfect attack positions. Torpedoes struck from multiple angles, overwhelming escorts before they could respond. Entire convoys disappeared overnight. Inside Britain's Admiralty War Room, red pins marking lost ships multiplied across maps of the Atlantic. Food supplies, fuel, ammunition, everything Britain needed to survive, depended on those shipping lanes. Prime Minister Winston Churchill later admitted the Battle of the Atlantic was the only campaign that truly frightened him. Because Britain wasn't just losing ships. It was running out of time. At Bletchley Park, panic spread through Hut 8. The German Navy introduced a new Enigma variant using additional rotors, known among codebreakers as shock. Overnight, previous decoding methods collapsed. Bombers ran endlessly, yet produced nothing. Days passed without readable intelligence. Convoys sailed blind. Turing and his civilian colleagues faced a terrifying possibility. Enigma might become unbreakable again. Desperation forced innovation. Mathematicians expanded statistical analysis, developing refined probability techniques, early forms of Bayesian reasoning, to evaluate partial information instead of complete certainty. Instead of waiting for perfect solutions, They began estimating the most likely settings. Civilian analysts sifted through weather patterns, shipping reports, and tiny operator habits invisible to German commanders. One repeated phrase, one predictable signal, one human shortcut. That was all they needed. Then, in early 1941, fortune intervened at sea. A British boarding party captured materials from a damaged German submarine, providing crucial insight into naval Enigma procedures. Combined with new statistical methods, Bletchley Park restarted the bombers. The machines accelerated. Keys began falling again. For the first time, Allied commanders could read U-boat communications almost as quickly as German admirals themselves. The invisible war had turned. An intelligence flowing from Bletchley Park received a new code name. Ultra.